just a few years into his career, and we've already seen him go at it with fans.
Next number 9-0 New York run to lead by 9 with a minute 30.
Players.
It is still screaming. And now we got a tussle underneath.
Coaches.
Here in Miami.
Refs.
Get the defensive stop at the end of the game. Young furious with the officiating.
He is the NBA's biggest villain. We are seeing Knicks fans chant about Trey Young following a playoff win to the Cavaliers.
Fuck Trey Young! Fuck Trey Young! Fuck Trey Young!
He was voted the most overrated player in the league by his fellow NBA players, and by a wide margin. You either love him or hate him. You either think he's the future face of the league or complete garbage. This is the curious case of Trey Young. As long as we've known him, he's been one of the most polar players in the country. As a senior in high school, he averaged 43 points a game. In the summer, he's dominating AAU alongside Michael Porter Jr., but he would graduate as just the 22nd player in the class. He then goes to Oklahoma, where almost immediately, he was looked at as a top 3 pick in the draft, and for good reason. He would pull off one of the most impressive starts to a college career we have ever seen. In his first 11 games, he would average 29 points and 10 assists, shooting 49% from the field and 41% from 3. By his 5th game, he put up 43 points. By his 10th game, he ties the NCAA record for most assists in a game with 22. On top of all this, Oklahoma starts the year 12-1, truly insane, but then things got interesting and the debates really started. Oklahoma would enter conference play, and for the next 19 games, he would shoot just 39% from the field and 33% from 3. He was averaging over 6 turnovers a game, something no one else has done in the history of college basketball. He had a 12 turnover game. He had a 48-point game where he lost and took 39 shots. So what did we have? The talent was absurd. The box score numbers were ridiculous, but he was 6'1" on his best day, a terrible defender, and might have some serious tendency hurdles to overcome. While looking back, it might seem like there was no debate surrounding Trey Young going inside the top 5 of the draft. That is not the case. Some believed he was the next Steph Curry, most the next Jimmer Fredette.
It's going to be brutal, and I'm afraid that he won't be able to develop.
I'm not really sold on Trey Young.
There's nothing explosive about his game, and he won't defend anybody.
On basically every single mock, he was sliding down the board. He was the mystery of the draft, but there was one team that had their eyes set on him, the Atlanta Hawks. But sitting at 3, they couldn't justify taking him there, so they reached a deal with the Dallas Mavericks. They select Luka, and if Trey Young's on the board at 5, they'll trade down and also acquire Dallas's first in 2019. He was on the board, and Trey is now a Hawk. Today's video is sponsored by Prizefix, and right now, they are giving away a flex injury every day of the NBA playoffs that could win up to $1 million. It's a sports pick'em platform where you just choose more or less on stats for up to 25 times your entry. It's been a ton of fun all playoffs, and tonight, I'm going to be going with Trey Young points, as it just seems really fitting for this video. I'm going to be going with Derek White points, Jason Tatum rebounds, and Malcolm Brogdon assists. I'm taking more on all of these. All of it happens, my $25 entry becomes $250. On top of the $1 million entry promo, I've got another promo for you guys. If you guys sign up with the link in the description and use code JIMMER, they're going to give you a deposit match up to $100. Now, I want to make it very clear, Prizefix is for entertainment purposes only, so please play responsibly. Thank you, Prizefix, for sponsoring today's video. Then his rookie season kicks off, and the haters are celebrating, doing their victory parade. He is playing terrible. In the first half of the year, he shoots just 39% from the field and 28% from 3. Not quite the next Stephen Curry that some expected. But then the second half of the year happened. This is where we really see Trey Young become one of the most polar players in the league today. He averages 23 a game, his efficiency shoots up, he enters the Rookie of the Year conversation. Now, you had the people that were celebrating his failure starting to go quiet, but his cult-like following is not letting them hear the end of it. Especially when he comes out the following season and is averaging 30-9. He makes the All-Star game in just his 2nd season. In his 3rd year, things would get crazy. Trey Young's villain arc begins. The Hawks make some big free agency additions and trade for Clint Capella. They're now a solid team, and they finish as the 5th seed matching up with the New York Knicks. One of the wildest playoff series we have ever seen, not necessarily due to what happened on the court, but the altercations between Trae Young and this Knicks fan base, a fan base whose dreams would be crushed in 5 games. They then take on the 1-seeded 76ers. No one thinks they stand a chance. They end up winning in 7. They make it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they would fall in 6 to the eventual champion Milwaukee Bucks. Trae Young is on top of the world. Just 3 years into his career, he's leading his team to the conference finals. He's an NBA All-Star. The Hawks don't hesitate. They give him a 5-year extension worth up to $207 million. But then things start to take a turn. The following year, they're in the play-in. They end up making it out and have to match up with the Miami Heat, where they get crushed in 5. The team decides to go all in, trading for Spurs All-Star point guard DeJounte Murray. The team stays pretty healthy, but they finish with a worse record than a year ago and have to come out of the play-in once again. They end up doing that and match up with the Boston Celtics in the first round. Another fanbase whose hatred for Trae Young has been growing by the minute. No one believed they stood a chance, but on the back of his 32 points in Game 3, they take him a W. And now he's coming off a Game 5 where he led them to a late comeback, dropped 16 in the 4th quarter, and hit a 30-footer to put the nail in the coffin and force a Game 6. Social media goes crazy. Everyone is singing their praises. Trae Young really took 2 games off the same Celtics team that Kyrie and KD got swept by. Trae Young is going to go down among the greats one day, folks. This is just the beginning. On shots to take the lead in the final 50 seconds of playoff games, Trae Young 3 for 4, Curry 0 for 12. Where are the Trae Young haters at? It's a fascinating case. You've got tons that believe he's overrated, a fraud. The other half believe he's disrespected and the real deal. So let's take a look. That 2021 playoff run is easily the most interesting part of this saga. How good was Trae Young actually? He had a really solid round 1 against the Knicks. He averaged 29 and 10 on okay splits. He hits the game winner in Game 1, but the other side of this matchup is what makes things so interesting. It was ugly. The Knicks reached 100 points once. Their most improved winner, Julius Randle, put up a masterclass, shooting less than 30% from the field. Their young rising star, RJ Barrett, doesn't do much better. The team gets led in scoring by a 32-year-old Derrick Rose. Against the 76ers, Trae Young would shoot just 39% from the field, but this was the series that marked the end of Ben Simmons. Following a Game 5 where he would shoot 4 for 14 from the free throw line, he collapses.
This dude, he's turning. This dude is scared to death. I mean, it's unbelievable. Can't have a guy on the court who's afraid to shoot the basketball.
And finishes off the series with 6 and 5 points. The team chemistry was completely shot. In the next round against the Bucks, he had a brilliant Game 1, dropping 48 points and getting the W, but he follows it up with 15. He misses Game 4 and 5, but the Hawks actually win Game 4. Giannis misses Game 5, misses Game 6, but Trae Young comes back for that game and shoots just 4 for 17 from the field, and they lose. Overall, it was a solid playoff run. A lot of the games were close, and he hit some really big shots. They couldn't have made it that far without him. But the critics were quick to point out the favorable path, getting to match up against the collapse of Julius Randle, then the collapse of Ben Simmons, and almost catching another break with a Giannis injury. These critics would get their chance to celebrate the following year. Trae Young during the regular season put up the best numbers of his career, averaging 28 and 10 on 46-38 splits. But then we saw them come out of the play-in and face the Heat in the first round, where things were ugly.
Here's Young on the drive, floater up and good! Atlanta takes a 1-point lead.
They would squeak out just one victory by a single point, and Trae played terrible. He averaged 15 points, 6 assists, to 6.2 turnovers, shooting 32% from the field and 18% from 3, arguably a worse individual series than what we saw Julius Randle do a year ago. For Trae Young, it's always been this constant back and forth. Even in high school, he was the villain. Opposing crowds were chanting overrated. In college, one half of his season is one of the best we've ever seen. The other half is questionable. We see the inverse in his rookie season. It's been an up and down roller coaster that featured passionate fans on both sides of this debate. Enter this season, which has taken things to a new level. The Hawks gave up a ton of first-round picks to go out and get DeJounte Murray with 2 years left on his contract. This is an all-in move, but the team didn't see any improvement during the regular season. In fact, they had a worse record than a year ago. The quote-unquote haters were loving this. See, the debate is not just about Trae Young. It's analytics versus the tape, the casuals versus the self-proclaimed guys that know ball. The reason this is happening is from an analytics standpoint, Trae Young's case is just not great. He put up the worst efficiency since his rookie year. He's objectively one of the worst defenders in the league. The goal is to hide him as much as possible, leading to him guarding whoever's most likely to stand in the corner. This results in the lowest shot contest in the league of any player with a significant role. Hiding him in the playoffs becomes a lot tougher, which is why we've seen some surprising performances from guys like Seth Curry, Derrick Rose, Derek White.
Here's Curry, that quick release. And here is Seth Curry. That's Curry for three. Yes!
While he puts up a ton of assists, the Hawks pass the least of any team in the NBA. He leads the league in assist to pass ratio, meaning most of his passes only come when he thinks it might translate to an assist. He leads the NBA in average dribbles per touch. He's second in time per touch. The Hawks run the pick and roll at the highest rate in the league. He rarely moves off ball, leading to him taking just over a single catch and shoot shot a game. That's the same as Markelle Fultz. He leads the NBA with 112 shots from 30 feet or further. Curry has only taken 59, and here he only shoots 34%, and it often turns into effective transition opportunities for the opposing team, with him holding his release and his defender already on the other end of the court. Despite being iced Trae, he was one of the least efficient high-volume shooters in the clutch this season. That's the case against him. He's a bad defender who needs the offense to run through him at all times, and the Hawks have accommodated it, bringing in one of the best pick-and-roll bigs in Capella, surrounding him with shooting constantly and giving up a massive package for one of the best perimeter defenders in DeJounte Murray. Yeah, the team sucks when he's not on the court, but it is a roster completely built around him. What makes things so fascinating is while it can be ugly, and ugly for long stretches, it's hard to argue the talent and what he is capable of. That fourth quarter in Game 5 is evidence of this. He has moments and stretches that leave you in awe. Seeing him rub it into crazy fan bases is hilarious. He has the ability to take over at any moment, but also collapse. He was one of the most heavily debated players in high school, college, going into the draft, and now it's at an all-time high and shows no signs of slowing down, especially with the recent reports that Hawks ownership has given the front office a green light to explore trading him. The story of the NBA's biggest villain is just getting started.